So there have been a lot of very interesting things leaked when it comes to Pokemon over the last little while. However, what we're going to be getting into here is not only unexpected, but it's actually pretty damn huge, and I'd like to know your guys' thoughts about this. But with that being said, let's dive in. So we ourselves Central Leaks posting the following. Junichi Masuda was banned from directing Pokemon games. Referred as the era of Masuda's absolute dominance, Masuda alone handled development, planning, personnel decisions, public relations, and game design. Up through Black and White, it was an era where no one could oppose him. However, this led to a concentration of power, and the organization began to run out of control. In personnel matters, unnecessary people and favorites emerged. The game's content shifted from being focused on fun to being driven by PR. They could no longer do proper game design. Various problems arose, and during the development of X and Y, Masuda got into an argument with Sugimori, resulting in a decision that he would no longer be allowed to direct from then on. So, this isn't just big, this is a WTF type of big. What the hell happened? We have Jiro saying, up through Black and White, but the downfall started in Gen 6, so that means it was better when he had all control. By downfall, I mean lack of extra features, endgame content, etc. Firefox Kaz says, wait, so the reason Pokemon games started going downhill was cause they kicked out Masuda from directing so they could keep Sugimori, who they eventually kicked out anyways? WTF. Drakeon says, the man just wanted to make good games and management said, this guy has gotta go. You do not hate Game Freak enough. And as somebody who has been a fan of Pokemon since 1998, I can definitely understand why a lot of people, especially in recent games for Pokemon, have not exactly had favorable opinions about the Pokemon product. Now, for me personally, I felt like that Pokemon really kind of changed the game for me when it was around Generation 8, and it all started when it was the National Dex cut. And then Generation 9 came around, and while the content itself was absolutely tremendous, the performance of the game itself was horrendous. Absolutely fucking half-baked at best. So I guess you could say that ever since Junichi Masuda was out of his power position, that's when things changed in Pokemon, and not all for the better. And while I do still love Pokemon, Pokemon has not been the same for me ever since in recent years. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments.